Hey guys, it's Angie, and I'm doing it. And guess what I'm doing today? I'm doing EMT, Emergency Medical Technician. Yes, I was an emergency medical technician licensed for 8 years. I only worked about 4 years as a emergency medical technician B, which is basic. BLS is basic life support. Basic life support. I'm going to tell you about my adventures as an EMT, and I'm hoping that you want to be one too. As an EMT, it stands for, of course, emergency medical technician, and you deal with medical emergencies. But you are not a paramedic. You will not be giving IVs. You will not be injecting anything into anyone at any time. So you are not ALS. You are not acute. You are not doing emergency surgery on the road. You're just not doing any of that. So let me explain to you my duties as an EMT B, basic life support. I was mostly the driver. In most cases, I was doing the driving. Sometimes I had a partner that was able to drive. In order to drive an ambulance, you must be able to be bonded. You don't have to be able to be bonded just to be an EMT per se, or have even licensed to be an EMT to drive the truck. But I don't know how it is now. But back when I was an EMT, I was the licensed driver, and a lot of times I had an unlicensed driver who, wasn't cleared through insurance yet. Riding went along with me, but he was just as much as the EMT as I was. So you're not an ambulance driver. I was told by one of my teachers, you are not an ambulance driver, and stop calling yourself that. You are an EMT. You are an emergency medical technician. So always remember that. Never call yourself an ambulance driver, because really anyone can get in the seat and drive if they have a license to drive. So, but back to being an EMT. An EMT, our duties with basic life support, which is doing CPR. CPR, cardiac pulmonary resuscitation. Most people can get that. You don't have to be an EMT. CNAs have them, RNs have them, doctors have them. You can just go and take a class and get your CPR. Now we have AED, defibrillators. So many people in the workplace know how to use them now. CPR card, I ask that you please go out and get one, or at least take a class, because most classes now include the AED also. So I suggest to take those classes so you can save a family member's life. And also you can learn so many different things in the class. You can learn how to do the Heimlich maneuver the correct way in case someone is choking. You can learn how to do this, to even help get it out of the throat with your fingers. I mean, there's so many different things you can learn as just going to a CPR class, and to learn to save a baby's life that's choking, or to just, someone has a heart attack and you can get their heart to beat again. That is the most rewarding feeling ever. Even when you don't get that heartbeat back, it's still a rewarding feeling to know that you tried. And you tried and you tried, because that has happened to me. I have gotten a heartbeat back. I have lost a heartbeat. But as long as you know that you did your best and you did what you were taught to do to save a life, be proud of what you do as an EMT. Never let, if you become an EMT or you learn CPR, never let someone passing, and you did something and you tried to save them, don't let it bother you. Always feel good about what you've done, and what you've done to help that person, so you can continue to help others. Because if you get discouraged because one time it didn't work for you, it didn't happen that you saved a life, and the next time it happens, you may be able to save their life. So never ever get discouraged, because as an EMT, it's going to happen. You're going to break some ribs. It's just going to happen. You're going to see things that you didn't think you ever would see, just being, being at home. You hear about things on the news, but just to think that you're out there working with these people and you're actually seeing all these things. But to be honest, I saw more tragedy before I became employed EMT as an unworking EMT. But I'm going to tell you that story in just a minute, but I'm going to finish telling you about BLS, basic life support. When you see our ambulances, I know the kids wave and everything, but when you see a BLS ambulance, all we have is sterile water, which I'm going to explain to you where that comes in at. When I first started working as an EMT, my partner and I were going back to the garage. And on our way back to the garage, it was a guy working on his car with another guy. And all of a sudden, I guess he opened up the radiator cap, and it just gushed all over him. The antifreeze was steaming hot, and it scalded him from his face all the way, all his chest. He immediately pulled off his shirt. His skin was seared. So all we had was gauze and sterile water. So we immediately cooled him with the water, and we took another one and put the gauze over him and poured the water on him until he got to the emergency room. We took him to the emergency room. I'll never forget that. And just saying that we helped save a life, because burns are really, really bad, and the exposure to germs and air, a lot could have happened before he got to the hospital. We were right there, as in the car was sitting here. It happened. We were driving like right here, and I saw the water hit him, and I was like, oh, me and my partner were screaming, and we was like, wow, did you see that? I was like, I saw that. So we immediately stopped to help, and we called our dispatch to let them know what happened, and we ended up taking him to the hospital, because we just happened to be right there. So those are the things that can happen. It's not always going to happen, and you don't look at the job as like, what's exciting going to happen today, because it's never a good thing or exciting thing for something bad to happen to anyone. But it's always a good thing if you're there to help. Always a good thing if you're there to help. And that was the main thing I loved about that job. And I took my job very serious. So serious, a lot of people did not like working with me, because I was so serious about my job. You address adults as ma'am and Mr. You don't, treat them bad. You don't talk about them because they're elderly. I did not allow it. Anyone who worked with me had to respect all our patients the exact same way. So a lot of guys, young guys, preppy guys, did not like working with me, because I demanded them to give my patients respect, our patients respect, and the people respect the same thing. Like I would tell them, however you treat your mom, you make sure you treat these patients. But then I had to think about it. A lot of these people don't treat the moms right, but not to get off the subject. And also in BLS, like I said, we have gauze, we have alcohol, we have peroxide, we have sterile water. And that's about it. And Band-Aids, and an AED unit and something. I think they put those in there now. I have no idea, but I'm quite sure they put them in. And we have an ambu bag, We have a bag to put on the face. I'm going to put a picture of an ambu bag right here. And that's what we use to, just in case, okay, not just in case. I'm going to tell you about something that happened to my partner and I. I was working with a young lady, and she took over driving, and I was in the back. No, I was driving. I'm sorry. I was driving, and she was in the back, and our patient coded before we can get her to the nursing home. And so we had to pull over in like this big giant cornfield, and we ended up doing CPR. So we called for help. We're like I said, we were like miles away from buildings. We were just in the middle of a cornfield and driving through a cornfield. And she did CPR for a while, and she didn't want to stop. And I ended up going back there, relieving her and doing CPR, because they told us not to move. So we had to just continue to do CPR until ALS arrived, which are paramedics. The fire department and the paramedics arrived, and they end up giving, she had a heartbeat, so she still had a heartbeat. So thank God we kept her a heartbeat until they got there. So they end up giving her an injection and an IV. By the time she got to the hospital, she had passed away though. But we did our best, and I told my partner, I'll always be proud of that we did our best. We did what we were supposed to do. We did our job. She had a heartbeat when they got her. I ain't gonna say they killed her, but she had a heartbeat, So we kept her heart beating until they got there. And when you do it, the adrenaline that's in you it doesn't stop. You're trying when you really, really want to save a life. But when we got through, our arms, our backs were so sore because we didn't stop. And you had to keep your hands like this. We did not stop. I mean, and that's what you do as an EMT. You save lives, and it's just a wonderful job. Now it's a little different. You don't do as much as we used to do back then. We would handle more broken bones mostly. Like we would mobilize, transport people playing football, baseball. We would sit at events like that, and we would pick people up and take them to the doctor. And I used to hate doing Little League, because they would get hurt, and you had to take the babies to the hospital with a, cuff around their neck, and it was heartbreaking, because I had a little boy also, but it was a job. It was a job where you helped. And I suggest if you want to be a paramedic, a lot of people would make a 92 on a test, and they get to go straight to being a paramedic, which I suggest do not do. I suggest you work as an EMT, basic life support, for at least 6 months so you can get used to helping people. A lot of people come straight out of college, and become EMTs and become paramedics, but they skip the EMT part and become a paramedic, and they don't know how to deal with people. They have a short little clinical, where they have to go and do those hours, but they really don't get to know people and how to take care of people and even care about people. And so I think that you should be in a EMT BLS situation for at least 6 months before you become a paramedic. Yes, I was in school to be a paramedic, but during that time things happened. And I end up dropping out, which I do regret to this day. Maybe one day I'll go back and get my paramedic. I'm never too late to go back and get my paramedic license. Never too late to do that. Never too late to go back and get my EMT license if I ever decide to do that again. But I enjoyed driving the ambulance. I enjoyed helping people. I enjoyed my job. It made me feel like I was doing something in my life. And how I got into my other video that you can go and check out, my dialysis video, is that I was just walking into a dialysis center taking a patient in, and the manager stopped me at the door and just said, "Oh my God, you are so wonderful with these patients, but you leave out of here so fast." So and I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "I'm afraid of those machines." So she hired me on the spot, and that's how I started doing dialysis for 12 years and left being a EMT, because she just said she loved the way I handled the patients, and she loved my courtesy towards the patients, but she just didn't understand why when I'm finished, I'm running out of the door, and I literally almost ran out the door. So she hired me, and I was like, "You hired me, you gotta hire my partner." And my partner, I think she's still doing dialysis to this day, but that's how I got hired in dialysis. And the thing about being an EMT, you may get other jobs. You may become a fireman for the city that you work in. You may become a paramedic at the city that you work in from working in a private company, which I was working at a private ambulance company, which those are the best places to start. So thank you guys for watching my video.